The unexpected encounter, first contact and tension. Humanity's final frontier, the vast expanse of space, had always been a realm of uncertainty and exploration. However, no one expected first contact with an alien species to occur in such a mundane location. It was on a small mining outpost orbiting Jupiter's moon, Europa, that humanity's first encounter with the Zarelli Empire took place. Captain Alina Ray of the UAS Horizon, Earth's most advanced exploration vessel, was patrolling the outer reaches of the solar system when an urgent message crackled through the comms. The distress call from Europa Station was clear and alarming. "This is Europa Station. We are under attack by unknown alien forces, requesting immediate assistance." Alina's heart raced as she processed the gravity of the situation. Hostile aliens, she snapped into action. "Helm, set course for Europa. Maximum speed," she commanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. As the Horizon approached Europa, they caught their first glimpse of the Zarelli warship. It was massive, easily dwarfing the human vessel. Its sleek purple hull was adorned with crystalline growths, and it hung ominously over the mining station, tendrils of energy lashing out at the human structure. "Open a channel," Alina commanded. "This is Captain Alina Ray of the UAS Horizon. We demand you cease your attack on our outpost immediately." There was a tense silence before the view screen flickered to life, revealing a being unlike anything humanity had ever seen. The Zarelli commander was a towering insectoid creature with an iridescent exoskeleton and multiple pairs of eyes that seemed to glow with an inner light. "Ah, the primitives have arrived." The alien's voice reverberated through the bridge, dripping with disdain. "I am Supreme Commander Vexa of the Zarelli Empire. Your pitiful outpost has encroached upon territory that will soon belong to us. Withdraw now or face annihilation." Alina's jaw clenched. "This system belongs to humanity. We will not abandon our people or our territory. Stand down or we will be forced to defend ourselves." Vexa's mandibles clicked in what seemed to be amusement. "You dare threaten us? Your technology is centuries behind ours. That tin can you call a ship would be crushed in seconds if we deigned to waste our energy on it. Perhaps," Alina interrupted coolly, "but you might find we're full of surprises." The alien commander scoffed. "Very well, you've made your choice, primitives. Prepare to witness the might of the Zarelli Empire." The communication cut off abruptly. Alina turned to her crew, determination etched on her face. "Battle stations, everyone. Let's show these aliens what humanity is made of." As klaxons blared throughout the horizon, Alina's tactical officer, Lieutenant Raj Patel, called out, "Captain, the alien vessel is powering up its weapon systems. Energy readings are off the charts." "Evasive maneuvers," Alina ordered. "Bring us around to Europa Station's far side. We need to draw their fire away from the outpost." The Horizon banked sharply, its fusion drives flaring as it positioned itself between the station and the Zarelli warship. Beams of purple energy lanced out from the alien vessel, barely missing the human ship. "Return fire," Alina commanded. "Target their weapons." The Horizon's railguns roared to life, spitting hypersonic slugs at the alien ship. To everyone's surprise, the projectiles punched through the Zarelli's energy shields, leaving scorch marks on its hull. "Impossible." Vexa's voice boomed over the comms, tinged with shock. "How did your primitive weapons penetrate our defenses?" Alina allowed herself a small smile. "I told you we were full of surprises, Commander." But the moment of triumph was short-lived. The Zarelli ship unleashed a barrage of energy weapons, battering the Horizon's shields and rocking the vessel violently. "Our shields are down to 60%, Raj reported, his fingers flying over his console. "Their weapons are adapting to our defenses." Alina gripped her command chair, her mind racing. They were outgunned and outmassed, but she refused to give up. Engineering, route all non-essential power to the shields. Weapons, prepare to fire the EMP warheads. The EMP warheads were an experimental weapon designed to disrupt advanced electronic systems. They had never been tested in actual combat, but now seemed as good a time as any. Fire EMP warheads. Full spread, Alina ordered. A cluster of missiles erupted from the Horizon's launch tubes, streaking towards the Zarelli ship. The alien vessel's point defense systems managed to destroy several, but 2 made it through, detonating in brilliant flashes of blue-white light. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then suddenly, the purple energy field surrounding the Zarelli ship flickered and died. Its weapons fell silent, and it began to drift aimlessly in space. Direct hit, Raj exclaimed. Their systems are offline. Alina didn't waste a moment. Hull, Europa Station. Prepare for immediate evacuation. We don't know how long the alien ship will be disabled. As the crew of Europa Station began boarding emergency shuttles, Alina opened a channel to the crippled Zarelli vessel. Commander Vexor, this is your only warning. Leave this system now or we will be forced to destroy your ship. There was no response, but the alien vessel's engines slowly sputtered to life. It began to move away from Europa, limping towards the outer solar system. As the last of the station crew boarded the Horizon, Alina watched the Zarelli ship retreat. She knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had won its first encounter with an alien species, but at what cost? What challenges lay ahead? With a heavy sigh, Alina gave the order to set course for Earth. They had a lot to report, and the planet had a lot to prepare for. The age of humanity's innocence was over. The era of interstellar conflict had begun. Rising tensions. As the days turned to weeks, the tension between humanity and the Zarelli Empire continued to escalate. The battles at Europa had proven that humanity was not to be underestimated, but the Zarelli were far from finished. Captain Alina Ray and her crew had become symbols of human resilience, but the upcoming confrontation with the Zarelli presented an entirely new set of challenges. The UES Horizon, now repaired and reinforced, became a focal point of humanity's defensive efforts. Captain Ray's quarters were a flurry of activity, with officers and analysts poring over intelligence reports and tactical plans. The room was dimly lit, with holographic projections casting an eerie blue glow over the room. Alina, deep in thought, stared at a holographic map of the solar system, her eyes scanning the projections of the Zarelli fleet's movements. Captain, we've just received a new transmission from the Zarelli. Lieutenant Raj Patel's voice broke the silence. He appeared at the doorway, his face set in grim determination. It's from Supreme Commander Vexor. Put it through, Alina commanded, her voice steady despite the wariness in her eyes. The view screen flickered to life, revealing the insectoid figure of Vexor once more. His multifaceted eyes glowed with a mix of irritation and menace. Human primitives, he began, his voice dripping with contempt. You've interfered in our plans once again. We will not tolerate this affront to our superiority. Commander Vexor, Alina replied, her tone cold and resolute. We've made it clear that Earth will not surrender to your demands. Your threats mean nothing to us. Vexor's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. You think your small victories are enough to deter us? We have only just begun to demonstrate our power. Prepare yourselves, for our next attack will be devastating. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. Alina turned to her crew, her expression resolute. Prepare for the worst. We need to be ready for anything they throw at us. In the following days, the crew of the Horizon worked tirelessly to fortify their defenses and improve their offensive capabilities. New weapon systems were installed, and the ship's hull was reinforced with the latest alloy composites. The crew's morale was high, fueled by their recent victory, but the reality of the situation weighed heavily on them. As the ship prepared for its next mission, Alina stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the stars outside. The vast expanse of space seemed to stretch infinitely, a reminder of the magnitude of the conflict they were about to face. She knew that the Zarelli were not just any adversary. They were a formidable force with advanced technology and a ruthless resolve. The battle began with a sudden, explosive force. The Zarelli fleet, caught off guard by the unexpected assault, scrambled to respond. Human warships unleashed a barrage of railgun fire and plasma torpedoes, tearing through the Zarelli defenses. The alien ships, while formidable, were overwhelmed by the sheer intensity of the human attack. Despite the initial success, the Zarelli quickly regrouped, their superior technology and tactical acumen allowing them to mount a fierce counterattack. The space around the outpost became a chaotic battlefield, with ships from both sides maneuvering and engaging in deadly combat. Captain Alina Ray coordinated the human fleet with precision, directing each ship to exploit weaknesses in the Zarelli formations. The battle was intense and grueling, but the human forces pressed on with unwavering determination. The Horizon's railguns roared as they targeted critical systems on the Zarelli vessels, while the other warships provided cover and support. Amidst the chaos, Alina noticed a pattern in the Zarelli's movements. They seemed to be attempting to protect something significant on the surface of the outpost. Realizing the importance of their objective, she ordered her fleet to focus on breaking through the Zarelli's defensive lines. As the battle raged on, the human forces managed to breach the outer defenses of the outpost. The Zarelli, now desperate to protect their asset, fought with even greater ferocity. But the human determination proved stronger. The Horizon and its accompanying ships pressed forward, pushing through the alien defenses and getting closer to their target. The battle continued to unfold with both sides, demonstrating their strengths and weaknesses. The Zarelli's advanced technology was formidable, but the human resolve and tactical ingenuity were proving to be equally effective. The confrontation on the edge of the solar system was far from over, and the outcome remained uncertain as both sides prepared for the next phase of their conflict. The unexpected turn. The human fleet's relentless assault had pushed the Zarelli back, but the battle was far from over. The outpost, now scarred and battered, still held secrets that the Zarelli were determined to protect. As the Horizon's crew fought valiantly to penetrate the outpost's inner defenses, they faced a growing realization: their victory was not assured, and the Zarelli were more resourceful than anticipated. Captain Alina Ray stood on the bridge of the Horizon, her eyes scanning the chaotic scene outside. The once stellar field of stars was now a tumultuous battleground, with bursts of energy and debris creating a dazzling yet deadly light show. Her crew, though battle-worn, remained focused, each member performing their role with unwavering dedication. "Captain, we've breached the outer perimeter," Lieutenant Patel reported, his voice strained but determined. "However, we're encountering heavy resistance from the Zarelli ground forces. It seems they're prepared for an assault on their facilities." "Understood," Alina replied, her mind racing through possible strategies. "We need to get to the core of their operations and neutralize whatever they're protecting. Deploy our landing teams and secure the area." The Horizon's landing shuttles, escorted by a squadron of fighter craft, descended towards the outpost. The Zarelli ground defenses, though fierce, were no match for the coordinated human assault. The shuttles touched down amidst a hail of plasma fire, and human soldiers, clad in advanced combat armor, disembarked with determination. On the surface, the situation was tense. The Zarelli defenders, insectoid warriors, and mechanized units fought with a ferocity that belied their previous overconfidence. The human soldiers, guided by their training and experience, fought back with equal resolve. The ground battle was a brutal struggle, with both sides determined to gain the upper hand. Captain Ray led a small contingent of elite troops towards the heart of the outpost. Their mission was clear: locate and destroy the Zarelli's strategic asset before it could be used against them. As they moved through the labyrinthine corridors of the outpost, they encountered fierce resistance but pressed on, driven by their sense of urgency. Meanwhile, back aboard the Horizon, Lieutenant Patel monitored the battle from the bridge. "Captain, we've detected a surge of energy readings from the core of the outpost. It matches the signature of the Zarelli's advanced weaponry." Increase the intensity of our assault, Alina ordered. We need to ensure the safety of our ground teams and prevent the Zarelli from activating whatever they're hiding. The space battle intensified as the human fleet focused their efforts on disabling the Zarelli's remaining defenses. The Zarelli, now fully aware of the threat, began to deploy their most advanced weaponry, launching devastating counterattacks against the human ships. The horizon shook under the barrage, but the crew remained steadfast, their resolve unwavering. On the surface, Captain Ray and her team fought their way through the outpost's security measures, their path illuminated by the flashes of combat. They reached a central control chamber, a heavily fortified area filled with alien technology and intricate machinery. "Captain, we're at the core," one of Ray's officers reported. "There's a complex network of devices here. It's clear this is what the Zarelli were trying to protect." Alina's eyes swept over the control room. The chamber was filled with towering alien devices, pulsating with ominous energy. The central unit, a massive crystalline structure, seemed to be the focal point of their efforts. "Plant the explosives," Alina commanded. "We need to destroy this and get out before it's too late." As the team set the charges, a sudden alert rang through the room. The Zarelli, having anticipated the human infiltration, launched a final desperate assault on the control chamber. The room filled with the screeching sounds of alien forces, and the air became thick with tension. "Hold the line," Alina shouted, her voice resolute. "We're almost there." The battle within the control chamber was fierce. The human team fought with everything they had, their efforts guided by a mixture of adrenaline and determination. Explosions and gunfire erupted in all directions, but they managed to set the final charges. With the explosives primed and the countdown underway, Alina and her team made a hasty retreat towards the landing zone. The outpost, now filled with chaos and destruction, was on the brink of total collapse. As they reached their shuttles and took off, a massive explosion shook the outpost, sending a shockwave through the battlefield. The Zarelli's secret weapon, now destroyed, triggered a chain reaction that caused a series of secondary explosions. The outpost, once a symbol of Zarelli's strength, was reduced to a blazing ruin. The human fleet, though battered, had succeeded in their mission. As the Horizon and its allied ships regrouped in the aftermath of the battle, Captain Alina Ray stood on the bridge, looking out at the remnants of the outpost. The victory was hard-earned, but the cost was evident. The crew, though victorious, bore the marks of a grueling conflict. "Captain," Patel said, his voice tinged with respect and relief, "we've secured the area. The Zarelli are in retreat." "Good work, everyone," Alina replied, her voice filled with a mixture of pride and wariness. "We've made a significant impact, but this war is far from over. We must remain vigilant and prepare for whatever comes next." The battle at the outpost marked a turning point in the conflict between humanity and the Zarelli Empire. The victory demonstrated humanity's resilience and capability, but the war was far from over. Both sides had shown their strength, and the conflict was set to continue as they prepared for the next stage of their struggle. With the immediate threat neutralized, Captain Ray and her crew could take a moment to catch their breath, but they knew that the challenges ahead would be even greater. The Zarelli were not finished, and the fight for the future of humanity was just beginning. The resurgence. In the wake of the battle at the Zarelli outpost, humanity's victory was celebrated as a significant milestone. The Zarelli Empire, though reeling from the destruction of their crucial facility, was not defeated. They began to regroup and strategize for a renewed assault. The Horizon and its crew were granted a temporary reprieve, but the respite was short-lived. Back aboard the Horizon, Captain Alina Ray and her senior officers gathered in the briefing room. The atmosphere was charged with a sense of urgency as they reviewed the data and reports from the recent engagement. "Captain, our intelligence suggests that the Zarelli are not only regrouping, but also deploying new, more advanced technologies," Lieutenant Patel said, pointing to a holographic display. They've managed to salvage and reverse engineer some of their damaged equipment. We've expected this, Alina responded, her expression grim. The Zarelli won't take this loss lightly. We need to stay ahead of them and prepare for their next move. Ensign Rivera, the ship's communications specialist, entered with an encrypted transmission. Captain, we've intercepted a Zarelli transmission. It's heavily coded, but it mentions something about a new weapon and a plan to retaliate. Let's decrypt it immediately, Alina ordered. We need to know what we're up against. As the crew worked to decode the transmission, the Horizon's medical team tended to the wounded. The cost of victory had been high, and the crew's morale was a mix of relief and apprehension. The Horizon's medical officer, Dr. Carter, worked tirelessly to ensure that everyone received the care they needed. The decrypted message revealed a startling revelation. The Zarelli were constructing a colossal warship, a supercarrier capable of unleashing devastating attacks. The vessel, still in the early stages of construction, was being built in a hidden facility on a remote moon. This is bad news, Alina said, her tone resolute. If they complete this supercarrier, it could turn the tide of the war in their favor. We need to find this facility and neutralize the threat before it's too late. The Horizon, along with a fleet of Allied ships, set course for the remote moon. The journey was fraught with tension, and the crew remained on high alert. They knew that this mission could be a decisive moment in the conflict. Upon arrival at the moon, the Horizon's reconnaissance teams deployed to scout the area. The moon was an icy, desolate place, with only a few small settlements scattered across its surface. The Zarelli's facility was concealed deep within a network of underground caverns, shielded from detection by advanced cloaking technology. Captain Ray led a team of elite soldiers on a covert operation to infiltrate the facility. Their objective was to locate and destroy the supercarrier before it could be completed. The team navigated through the treacherous terrain, avoiding Zarelli patrols and security systems. Inside the facility, the sight was both awe-inspiring and alarming. The supercarrier, still in its construction phase, loomed large, its skeletal frame an imposing structure of alien design. The construction site was bustling with activity as Zarelli engineers and workers labored to complete the vessel. Set the charges, Alina instructed her team, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. We need to make sure this supercarrier is completely destroyed. As the team planted explosives around the construction site, they encountered unexpected resistance. The Zarelli, aware of the potential threat, had stationed elite guards and automated defenses to protect the facility. The firefight that ensued was intense. The Zarelli forces fought with desperation, determined to defend their valuable asset. The human team, well-trained and equipped, engaged in a fierce battle to secure their objective. Explosions and energy bursts filled the cavernous space, the air thick with the sounds of combat. Despite the fierce opposition, the human team managed to set the final charges. With the timer ticking down, they made a hasty retreat, fighting their way back to their extraction point. The supercarrier, now rigged with explosives, loomed ominously in the distance. As the team boarded their shuttles and took off, a series of controlled detonations rocked the facility. The supercarrier, still incomplete but massive in scale, was engulfed in a series of explosions. The resulting destruction sent shockwaves through the moon's surface, the facility collapsing into a fiery inferno. The Horizon and its allied fleet watched from a safe distance as the facility was consumed by the flames. The mission had been a success, but the crew knew that the Zarelli would not surrender easily. Back aboard the Horizon, Captain Ray and her team took a moment to assess the situation. The destruction of the supercarrier was a significant blow to the Zarelli, but it was clear that the conflict was far from over. The Zarelli were likely to respond with renewed vigor and possibly even more advanced technology. "We've struck a major blow," Alina said, her voice filled with a mix of pride and resolve. "But we must remain vigilant. The Zarelli will adapt, and we need to be ready for whatever comes next." As the Horizon set a course for their next destination, the crew braced themselves for the challenges ahead. The war with the Zarelli had taken a crucial turn, but the fight for the future was far from over. Humanity's resilience and determination would continue to be tested as they faced an uncertain and dangerous future. The Reckoning. The destruction of the Zarelli supercarrier sent ripples through the galaxy, both among the Allied forces and within the Zarelli Empire. While the immediate threat was neutralized, the victory was bittersweet. The Zarelli, known for their tenacity, would undoubtedly retaliate. The Horizon and its crew faced a new phase in the conflict, one marked by uncertainty and potential peril. The Horizon returned to the Central Command Station, where high-level strategy meetings were held. The loss of the supercarrier had inflicted a severe setback on the Zarelli, but their resolve remained unshaken. As Captain Alina Ray and her senior officers gathered for a briefing, the atmosphere was tense with anticipation. "Captain, we've received reports of increased Zarelli activity near several key systems," Admiral Jensen said, pointing to a star map on the holographic display. "It appears they're regrouping and preparing for a large-scale counteroffensive." Alina's eyes narrowed as she studied the map. "We need to anticipate their moves and prepare for potential attacks on critical locations. Our allies are already stretched thin. We have to find a way to strike back and maintain the momentum." The crew's morale, though boosted by the recent success, was tempered by the realization of the growing threat. The Horizon's crew, battle-worn but undeterred, was preparing for what could be the most challenging phase of the conflict. Meanwhile, the Zarelli Empire was in turmoil. The loss of the supercarrier had shaken their confidence, and the Empire's leadership was in a state of crisis. High-ranking Zarelli officials convened to address the situation and plan their retaliation. "This defeat cannot go unanswered," High Commander Varric said, his voice cold and authoritative. "We must demonstrate our strength and crush these humans before they become an even greater threat. The resources we have left must be mobilized for a decisive strike." The Zarelli began assembling their forces, rallying troops and ships from across their empire. They aimed to launch a surprise attack on one of humanity's most strategically important planets, known as Sentinel Prime. The planet was a hub for both military operations and civilian life, making it a prime target for the Zarelli's vengeance. As intelligence reports filtered in, the Horizon was tasked with leading a defensive effort to protect Sentinel Prime. The crew worked tirelessly, fortifying defenses and coordinating with Allied forces. The impending attack was anticipated to be fierce and relentless. Captain Ray, knowing the gravity of the situation, gathered her team for one final briefing before the battle. "This is it, folks," Alina said, her voice steady but filled with determination. "The Zarelli are coming for Sentinel Prime. We need to ensure that we hold the line and protect both the military and civilian populations. This is more than just a battle. It's a test of our resolve and unity." The Horizon and its allied forces took their positions around Sentinel Prime, preparing for the inevitable assault. The Zarelli fleet, massive and intimidating, emerged from the void, their ships bristling with weaponry. The confrontation was imminent. As the first waves of Zarelli ships engaged the defenders, the battle erupted into a maelstrom of fire and fury. The Horizon's crew, battle-hardened and resolute, fought with unparalleled courage. The ship's weapon systems blazed, and its shields held firm against the onslaught. Despite their best efforts, the Zarelli attack was relentless. Their forces were well coordinated, and they employed new tactics designed to exploit the weaknesses in the defenders' strategy. The battle raged on, with casualties mounting on both sides. Captain Ray and her crew fought valiantly, their determination unwavering. The defenders' resolve was tested to its limits, but they managed to hold off the initial waves of the Zarelli assault. The tide of battle seemed to turn in humanity's favor as the defenders' counterattacks began to push back the enemy. In the heat of the conflict, Ensign Rivera intercepted a crucial Zarelli communication that revealed a major strategic move. The Zarelli were planning to deploy a new type of weapon, a massive energy cannon capable of piercing through the planet's defenses. The cannon was being transported on a heavily guarded ship, and its arrival was imminent. "This is bad," Rivera said urgently. "If that weapon gets deployed, Sentinel Prime could be devastated. We need to intercept that ship and neutralize the threat." Captain Ray made a swift decision. "We'll launch a strike team to take out the weapon before it can be used. We can't afford to let this new threat compromise our defenses." A specialized team, led by Lieutenant Purtle, was dispatched to locate and destroy the Zarelli ship carrying the energy cannon. The team engaged in a daring and dangerous operation, infiltrating enemy lines and navigating through hostile territory. The mission was fraught with challenges, including intense firefights and evasion of enemy patrols. Despite the risks, the team managed to locate the ship and breach its defenses. With the energy cannon within their reach, the team planted explosive charges and made a hasty escape. As the charges detonated, the Zarelli ship was engulfed in flames, and the energy cannon was destroyed. The explosion sent shockwaves through the Zarelli fleet, disrupting their operations and buying precious time for the defenders of Sentinel Prime. The battle continued, but the destruction of the energy cannon provided a significant boost to the defenders' morale. With renewed determination, the Ally forces rallied and pressed their advantage. The Zarelli, though formidable, were beginning to falter under the relentless pressure. As the battle for Sentinel Prime reached its climax, the Horizon and its allies emerged victorious. The Zarelli forces, though battered and bruised, retreated to regroup and lick their wounds. The immediate threat had been repelled, but the war was far from over. Captain Ray and her crew, wary but triumphant, took a moment to reflect on the hard-fought victory. Sentinel Prime had been saved, but the Zarelli was still a formidable adversary. The Horizon's mission continued, and the crew remained committed to the fight for humanity's survival and freedom. As the dust settled and the Horizon prepared for the next stage of the conflict, the crew knew that the road ahead would be challenging. The war with the Zarelli had taken a pivotal turn, and humanity's resilience would continue to be tested in the days to come. The unseen threat. With the immediate danger averted, Captain Alina Ray and her crew took a moment to regroup and assess their situation. Sentinel Prime was secure, but the victory had come at a high cost. The battle had left the defenders exhausted, and the Zarelli were only temporarily deterred. Intelligence reports suggested that the enemy was regrouping and preparing for a new phase of their campaign. The Horizon's command staff gathered in the briefing room, where the mood was a mixture of relief and anxiety. Admiral Jensen reviewed the data from the recent battle, his face etched with concern. "We've managed to hold Sentinel Prime, but the Zarelli are far from defeated," Admiral Jensen said. "Their retreat seems to be strategic rather than a complete withdrawal. They're regrouping and likely planning their next move." Captain Ray nodded, her expression resolute. "What's our next step?" "We need to stay ahead of their plans," Jensen replied. "Our intelligence indicates that the Zarelli are focusing on developing new technologies and tactics. They've also been gathering support from other alien factions, which could complicate our efforts." Lieutenant Rivera, who had played a crucial role in the previous battle, spoke up. "We've intercepted communications suggesting that the Zarelli are trying to forge alliances with various disgruntled factions across the galaxy. They're looking to consolidate their power and create a united front against us." Captain Ray considered this information carefully. "If they're forming alliances, we need to do the same. We have to strengthen our relationships with our current allies and seek out new ones. We also need to increase our reconnaissance efforts to stay ahead of their technological developments." The Horizon's crew began implementing a plan to fortify their alliances and gather intelligence. Diplomatic envoys were sent to negotiate with various factions, while reconnaissance teams were deployed to monitor Zarelli activities and technological advancements. Meanwhile, the Zarelli Empire was indeed pursuing a new strategy. High Commander Varric, seething from their recent defeat, had begun a campaign to unite various alien factions under a common banner. The goal was to create a coalition capable of challenging humanity's dominance and tipping the balance of power in the galaxy. The Zarelli's efforts were focused on a massive propaganda campaign designed to sway neutral and discontented factions to their side. Varric and his advisors were meticulous in their approach, promising power, resources, and a share in the spoils of war to those who joined their cause. One of the key targets of this campaign was the Goran Collective, a powerful alliance of warrior species known for their military prowess. The Gorans had been neutral in the conflict thus far, but their leaders were tempted by the prospect of an alliance with the Zarelli. The Horizons intelligence network discovered this development and immediately relayed the information to Captain Ray. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Alina and her team devised a plan to counter the Zarelli's diplomatic advances. A covert mission was launched to engage with the Goran leaders and present humanity's case. The goal was to demonstrate that an alliance with the Zarelli would lead to more conflict and instability, while cooperation with humanity could offer mutual benefits and long-term security. Lieutenant Patel, a skilled negotiator, was chosen to lead the diplomatic mission. Accompanied by a small team of experts, Patel traveled to the Goran homeworld, where he faced the challenge of persuading the Goran leaders to remain neutral and consider an alliance with humanity. The Goran leaders, known for their warlike nature, were initially skeptical of Patel's mission. The Goran Council, a formidable assembly of warrior chieftains, demanded proof of humanity's commitment and capability. Patel and his team were subjected to a series of tests and challenges designed to assess their sincerity and strength. The mission was fraught with danger as the team navigated the complex and often hostile environment of the Goran homeworld. However, Patel's diplomatic skills and the team's determination won over many of the Goran leaders. They demonstrated humanity's resilience and technological prowess, as well as the benefits of cooperation over conflict. Meanwhile, back on the horizon, the crew continued their preparations for potential new threats. They worked on advancing their own technologies, improving their defensive systems, and enhancing their combat readiness. The crew was acutely aware that the next phase of the war could be more challenging and unpredictable. The Goran mission reached a critical juncture when the Council convened to make their decision. Patel and his team awaited the verdict with bated breath. The Goran leaders were torn between their desire for power and the realization that a coalition with the Zarelli could lead to endless warfare. In a dramatic and tense meeting, the Goran Council ultimately decided to remain neutral but expressed interest in a strategic partnership with humanity. They recognized the value of aligning with a force that could provide stability and protection while offering opportunities for growth and mutual benefit. The outcome of the Goran mission was a significant victory for humanity, as it prevented the formation of a powerful anti-human coalition. The diplomatic success bolstered the Horizon's position and provided a much-needed boost to the morale of the crew and their allies. As the Horizon returned to its mission, Captain Ray and her team prepared for the next stage of the conflict. The Zarelli Empire, though still a formidable adversary, had been dealt a setback. The galaxy was in a state of flux, with shifting alliances and evolving strategies. Captain Ray knew that the war was far from over. The Zarelli's technological advancements and diplomatic maneuvers meant that humanity's fight for survival and dominance would continue. The crew of the Horizon remained vigilant and determined, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The battle for the galaxy was evolving, and the future remained uncertain. But one thing was clear: humanity's resolve was unwavering, and their fight for freedom and security would continue until the final victory was achieved. The dawn of a new alliance. With the Goran Collective's decision to stay neutral, the Horizon and its allies had managed a significant diplomatic victory. However, the Zarelli Empire's attempts to form a coalition were far from over, and the galactic landscape remained perilously unstable. Captain Alina Ray and her crew were now focused on preparing for the next phase of the conflict. The diplomatic success with the Goran Collective had provided a temporary respite, but it was evident that the Zarelli would not be deterred easily. The Horizon's command staff continued to receive intelligence reports indicating that the Zarelli were pushing harder to expand their influence and forge new alliances. In response, Captain Ray intensified efforts to solidify existing alliances and explore new ones. The Horizon was tasked with reaching out to various factions across the galaxy, offering support, technology, and protection in exchange for strategic partnerships. The goal was to create a united front capable of countering the Zarelli's growing threat. One of the key alliances that the Horizon sought to strengthen was with the Reptar Dominion, a powerful and technologically advanced species known for their formidable fleets and strategic acumen. The Reptar had been wary of involvement in the conflict, preferring to maintain their neutrality. However, recent intelligence suggested that the Reptar might be tempted by promises of technological advancement and mutual defense. Captain Ray personally led a diplomatic envoy to the Reptar Dominion's capital planet. The mission was crucial, as forging an alliance with the Reptar could shift the balance of power in humanity's favor. The Reptar were known for their strict adherence to their own code of honor, and gaining their trust would be no easy feat. Upon arrival, Captain Ray and her team were greeted with a formal ceremony, reflecting the Reptar's tradition of honor and respect. The meeting with the Reptar High Council was conducted in a grand hall, adorned with intricate carvings and holographic displays showcasing Reptar history and achievements. The High Council, composed of influential Reptar leaders, listened intently as Captain Ray presented humanity's case. She highlighted the mutual benefits of an alliance, emphasizing shared values, the threat posed by the Zarelli, and the potential for technological exchange. "We understand your concerns about becoming involved in this conflict," Captain Ray said. "But the Zarelli's ambitions are not limited to our sector of the galaxy. Their plans could threaten every faction, including the Reptar Dominion. An alliance with humanity offers not only a means to combat this threat, but also the opportunity to advance our technologies and secure our futures together." The Reptar leaders were impressed by Captain Ray's presentation, but they remained cautious. They required proof of humanity's commitment and capability, as well as assurances that the alliance would be equitable and beneficial for both parties. To address these concerns, Captain Ray proposed a joint task force to conduct a series of combined operations. This would allow the Reptar to evaluate humanity's military prowess and strategic capabilities firsthand. The task force would also engage in a series of training exercises and joint missions to build trust and cooperation between the two factions. The Reptar High Council agreed to the proposal, and the joint task force was soon established. The collaboration began with a series of successful operations against smaller, rogue factions that had been disrupting trade routes and posing threats to both the Reptar and humanity. The joint missions proved to be highly effective, showcasing the combined strengths of human and Reptar forces. The Reptar were impressed by humanity's adaptability, strategic thinking, and technological innovations. Similarly, the Reptar's advanced weaponry and tactical expertise were invaluable assets to the Horizon's operations. As the joint task force continued to achieve victories, the Reptar Dominion's confidence in the alliance grew. The collaboration also facilitated the exchange of advanced technologies and strategic insights, further strengthening the partnership. With the Reptar Dominion now a key ally, the Horizon's command staff felt a renewed sense of optimism. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted, and humanity's position was stronger than ever. However, the Galactic Empire remained a formidable adversary, and the war was far from over. In a strategic move, Captain Ray and Admiral Jensen decided to launch a series of offensive operations to disrupt the Zarelli's plans and weaken their influence. The goal was to take advantage of the momentum gained through the new alliance and apply pressure on the Zarelli. The offensive operations targeted key Zarelli strongholds and supply lines, aiming to cripple their ability to wage war effectively. The joint forces of the Horizon and the Reptar Dominion conducted precision strikes and coordinated assaults, dealing significant blows to the Zarelli's infrastructure and military capabilities. Despite the successes on the battlefield, the war took a toll on both humanity and its allies. The strain of continuous conflict and the loss of comrades weighed heavily on the crews of the Horizon and the Reptar fleets. Yet, the determination to secure lasting peace and protect their homes kept morale high. The Zareli Empire, now facing a multifaceted assault from humanity and its allies, began to experience internal strife. The pressure from the combined forces, coupled with the challenges of maintaining a coalition of their own, led to dissent within the Zareli ranks. In a final push to end the conflict, Captain Ray and Admiral Jensen devised a plan to strike at the heart of the Zareli Empire. The objective was to deliver a decisive blow that would cripple the Zareli's leadership and command structure, forcing them to the negotiating table. The operation was meticulously planned and executed with precision. The joint forces infiltrated the Zareli capital, conducting a series of coordinated strikes that dismantled key command centers and critical infrastructure. The operation resulted in the capture of several high-ranking Zareli leaders and significant disruption to their military operations. With the Zareli leadership in disarray and their ability to wage war severely diminished, the conflict reached a turning point. The Zareli Empire, recognizing the futility of continued resistance, sought peace negotiations. Captain Ray, Admiral Jensen, and representatives from the Reptar Dominion participated in the negotiations, which were held under the auspices of a neutral Galactic Council. The terms of the peace agreement were carefully negotiated, addressing the concerns of all parties and establishing a framework for future cooperation. The peace treaty was signed, marking the end of hostilities between humanity and the Zareli Empire. The agreement included provisions for the cessation of military operations, the establishment of diplomatic relations, and collaborative efforts to rebuild and stabilize the affected regions. As the Horizon and its allies celebrated the hard-fought victory, Captain Ray reflected on the journey. The war had tested humanity's resolve, but it had also showcased their strength, ingenuity, and capacity for alliance building. The conflict had brought together diverse factions and forged new partnerships that would shape the future of the galaxy. The dawn of a new era began with the signing of the peace treaty. The galaxy, once again, faced an uncertain future, but humanity and its allies were prepared to navigate the challenges ahead. The lessons learned from the war would guide their efforts to build a more secure and cooperative galactic community. Captain Ray and her crew, having played a crucial role in the conflict, returned to their mission with renewed purpose. The Horizon continued its journey through the galaxy, ready to face new challenges and opportunities as they worked towards a brighter and more peaceful future for all.